Okay, unfortunately, I'm gonna ramble a little bit. It's been a very long day. You can probably see I got all kind of sunburn, and I was sitting here, and I'm working on my fable, The Legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis. And as you know, fables are reality to you as you live them. So, not that I think The Legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis is a real story, but just like you engage so completely with any other fantasy tale like The Lord of the Rings, and you just get into that world. I'm way into this beavers, in the ancient history of beavers, and beavers building dams and the extensive wetlands that they may have created. So, for example, this is like a beaver dam that's visible from space in Canada. Now, the thing about beaver dams is that, if you build houses over here and then they build a beaver dam, well, that ruins everything. So we can assume that people have been ridding themselves of the pest that beavers are for basically all of human history. I mean, they would have probably knew what these beavers were up to and knew that if they allowed beavers to do what beavers do, then they'd be flooding out the place, and they wanted to be living there, and so they'd be killing the beavers. And so the largest beaver to ever live is like huge. Okay, so what the giant beaver could vary from 276 pounds. It's huge. The largest beaver ever recorded was 110 pounds. So, the largest beaver to ever live could have been larger than a black bear. So, these are big animals. The largest rodent ever. So, the giant beaver, this is a dummy. I mean, these things were building dams. Okay? In America. So here's the fable bit here. So, in the very ancient world, I don't know how to search for stuff. So here's what I'm going to try to understand. I'm going to search for the Western Interior Seaway. So we have this Western Interior Geological Seaway right here. So here's the Western Interior Seaway. The Western Interior Seaway, also known, you can see right below my face, it's like the whole continent. The Cretaceous Seaway, the Niobrarian Sea, and the North America Inland Sea, and the Western Interior Sea was a large inland sea that split the continent into two landmasses for 34 million years. Lake Cretaceous, two landmasses, by the Americas had separated. Okay, so here's the question. How many evidences are we dealing with for this seaway? So there must be no way that people can figure these are lakes. Okay, so they decided that this is this giant seaway right here. All of this beaver territory is a giant seaway. Now, this is way before beavers existed, and there's no paleontological evidence. I just already looked this up. There's no scientific support for the idea that any dinosaurs built dams. But the oldest known beaver dam is like only 125,000 years old. But the oldest known beaver is 30 million years old. So the thing is like, other animals, elephants actually build dams in order to control the water. So elephants use their tusks to push down trees into streams to flood nearby areas so that when the stream dries out, there's still water in like a reservoir. So elephants make dams to keep water on the land so that they can go wallow in the water when it's too dry for the streams to have any water in it. So that's a big animal with tusks. Okay, and maybe Triceratops were like dinosaur beavers. You know, they had these beaks for chewing at really hard stuff. Maybe they were cutting trees down and pushing logs into the stream and flooding out areas so that there's plenty of water to wallow around in. You know, so here's the thing. You know, how much evidence do we have for this Western Interior Seaway? This is my question, what does this evidence look like? And has it been explored? And could it be possible that the reason why there's water everywhere that there should not be lakes, like lakes work differently, but there's all these watersheds? Could it be that these dinosaurs were just really giant beavers making giant interior inside of the continent reservoirs that got filled with shellfish, you know, swimming animals. I mean, we have in shallow water, we have these sea cows. What are those things called? You know, in Africa, the elephants are building dams, and there's hippopotamuses everywhere. I mean, these are giant semi-aquatic animals, and I'm sure there's shellfish and all that, you know, that can. I mean, I just have no idea what's going on. I mean, there's these crazy, those triops. Those look like Those look like some crazy animals. You know, these triops, they look like ancient Paleolithic, not Paleolithic, but Pleistocene. I mean, they look like these crazy fossil animals, you know? And they're these things that they have these crazy growth patterns because they live where it dries out all the way. And they're just like in the sediment. The eggs are just in the sediment, and then it can stay dormant for years and years, and then the area floods. And because a Triceratops makes a Triceratops dam instead of a beaver dam, you know, and then the area floods to make a wetland so that Triceratops can go wallow around in the water. And then there gets to be all these crazy crustaceans. They have these crazy weird lifestyles that it's not as common for us nowadays because well, we just don't have the same, you know, they're pests. These animals, they make these flooded areas, we gotta kill them, you know. Can't have that. We were living right there, you know, we're having something right there. We don't want that stuff. We gotta kill the animal. We target the beaver. We gotta make sure to kill all the beavers so that they do not build dams in our streams, because we are using that stream, we're irrigating, we controlling the water. We don't need no beavers controlling the water. And this is a problem that we have with the wildlife, with beavers in particular, in the areas where beavers should be much more extensive, like all of America. There should be so many beavers making wetlands everywhere. Wetlands are extremely productive. You know, everyone's like, go plant a tree, but if you just let beavers do what they wanted to do, it's got to be on the scale of thousands of times more impactful for the carbon footprint. If they just let beavers go and made everybody move out of their house when beavers went and flooded places, there'd be so many wetlands everywhere. There would be so much carbon sinking going on that counting how much trees it would take to carbon sink would be a fruitless exercise. So I can't back this up with any scientific data, but I was thinking that the comparison would be like, if you're going to go to battle and you have the choice between bullets and nuclear weapons, you could plant a tree, and that's like shooting a bullet. Or you can drop a nuclear weapon, and that's like having, building a big wetland, basically. It would be like a nuclear weapon. Because wetlands do crazy things. Wetlands turn all of the sediment into a extremely productive organic environment. Like, when wetlands get all dried out, it makes peat. And you can literally dig peat up out of the ground and throw it. I mean, you have to dry it first, but you basically can dig peat up, let it dry out, and then throw it in the furnace, and it's like burning coal. It's like burning lower grade coal. It's not anthracite coal, but it's like burning coal. So if you let there be a wetland for a certain amount of time, and then dry it out, you can literally dig that dirt straight into the furnace and burn it like coal. So if you think about that, think about how much carbon the wetland is sinking. I mean, wetlands get all full of trees, they get all full of plants and animals, so anyways, I've been sitting here thinking about that stuff, and then I was like, man, what if the Western Interior Seaway never existed at all? I mean, we don't got that good of evidence. They don't really know. I mean, so long ago, they're just figuring. They have some crazy animals living in there, but what if that whole thing was just like beaver dams, basically? All because of wetlands created by animal dams. No beavers, but maybe what if Triceratops was like making dams just like elephants do? And then there was just wetlands everywhere, so many wetlands, interconnected wetlands. Animals could like cross land a little ways from one wetland to another, swim through really muddy, shallow areas, push their way through, and then you'd find all these crazy animals way up in the continent living in shallow wetland areas. Some of them might make significant lake-like formations. And the whole thing is just because basically the same thing as beaver dam building. Anyways, I don't know how to find out that kind of stuff. I don't know how to research it. I'm just making a video talking about how I was like, I really want to find this stuff out. Wouldn't that be a question? I wonder if anybody's asked that question. Is the Western Interior Seaway ever been investigated as not having been a shallow sea, but instead having been the result of animals creating wetlands by building dams? That's what I wonder. Or somewhere in the middle, like maybe a combination of the two. Alright, that's my video.